Okay, so we're diving deep today into all these excerpts you gave me from RoleCatcher about billing clerks. And honestly, when I hear billing clerk, I kind of picture, someone with stacks of invoices tucked away in a quiet corner of the office. Not exactly the most glamorous image, but looking through these materials, it's clear I have some misconceptions about this role.
Totally. It's one of those jobs that often flies under the radar, but is
Yeah.
absolutely crucial. I mean, these roll catcher pieces drive home just how vital billing clerks are to keeping a company's finances.
Well, healthy. They even had this anecdote. Hold on. Here it is. It was about a billing clerk who found a tiny decimal point error in a huge order, saved the company thousands of dollars.
Wow, that's incredible. Talk about attention to detail. Okay, so clearly this is about more than just sending invoices. But what does a typical day actually look like for a billing clerk? Are we talking spreadsheets galore? You're not far off. A lot of their work revolves around software like, QuickBooks or SAP. QuickBooks is huge for smaller businesses, helps with invoices, tracking expenses. SAP, though, that's more the big leagues. For large corporations and their complicated transactions, think of it this way. These programs are how those credit memos, invoices, all the stuff that lands in our mailboxes, that's what they're using to generate it all.
Right. The stuff that reminds us bills even exist. So definitely a tech component then. But it can't be all ones and zeros, right? What about actually dealing with people, the customer service aspect?
That's where those people skills really come into play. So you're juggling creating invoices, but also got field calls from customers who might be, let's say, questioning their bill. Requires a certain touch, wouldn't you say?
For sure. So we're talking with someone who's got that meticulous side to handle the spreadsheets, but can also turn around and explain things clearly to someone who's not a billing expert. That's a unique combo.
Absolutely. And it comes up constantly in the roll catcher materials.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just be good with numbers. You have to be able to communicate clearly, make sure everything is easy to understand because, let's be honest, no one likes getting a confusing bill.
So it's more than just being good with numbers, right?
Yeah.
What are some of those other key skills that RoleCatcher highlights for really excelling as a billing clerk?
Well, they hammered on one in particular, and it takes us right back to that story I mentioned earlier.
The one with the decimal points saving the day.
Exactly. Attention to detail. That's not just a nice to have in this job, it's essential.
Yeah.
One tiny mistake, like you said, a misplaced decimal, the wrong code, it can snowball into a huge problem.
Makes sense. So we're talking accuracy in every single thing they do then.
Totally. Inputting data, generating those reports, everything has to be perfect. Oh, they gave a great example. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Credit memos. So let's say a customer gets billed twice by accident, right? It's the billing clerk who has to create that credit memo, make sure the customer gets the right amount refunded, and that it doesn't mess up anything else down the line. That takes serious attention to detail.
Like being a financial detective, hunting down those little discrepancies before they become big headaches. Speaking of which, let's shift gears a bit and talk career progression. Someone starts out as a billing clerk, they're loving it, but they want to move up. What's that path look like?
RoleCatcher actually lays out a really clear trajectory.
Yeah.
Usually you'd start as an entry-level billing clerk, which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You're learning the software, the processes, all the fundamentals we've been discussing.
So it's a good entry point then for someone just starting their career.
Oh, for sure. You get that hands-on experience, build a solid foundation, and from there, the next step up is usually billing clerk the second.
Okay, what changes at that level?
That's where things get more, I don't know, interesting. You're not just doing the day-to-day anymore. You're handling more complex invoices, maybe dealing with international clients even. You might be training new hires, acting as a mentor.
More responsibility, using your expertise to guide others. It's a natural progression.
Right. And then, according to RoleCatcher, the peak, the big kahuna, is the senior billing clerk position.
Senior billing clerk. Sounds official. What does that involve?
Think of them like the conductor of the billing orchestra.
Yeah.
They're overseeing the whole operation, making sure everything runs smoothly. They might analyze data to spot trends, figure out ways to improve things.
So it becomes less about processing individual invoices and more about the big picture, shaping how the whole department works.
You got it. They might even be involved in company policies related to billing, that kind of thing. Shows you how far you can go in this field if you're dedicated.
That's wild. From what seemed like a very task-focused role to something so, I don't know, strategic. But let's be real, no job's perfect. There's got to be a flip side.
Yeah, for sure. Every job's got its downsides. So what does RoleCatcher say about the, let's call it the less glamorous side of being a billing clerk.
Well, they're pretty honest about the fact that it can be, repetitive at times. You're working with the same kinds of documents day after day,
Mm.
invoices, credit memos, all that. So if you're someone who craves tons of variety, it might not be the best fit.
Right, you probably need to be comfortable with routine.
Exactly. And then there's the whole customer service aspect. RoleCatcher doesn't sugarcoat it.
Mm.
Dealing with difficult customers, that comes with the territory.
I can imagine.
You're the one they call when they think there's an error or they don't understand something on their bill. Patience and good communication are key. Sounds like you need the patience of a saint. But hey, let's look ahead a bit. We talked about how important tech is in this role, and RoleCatcher mentioned AI. What does all this artificial intelligence stuff mean for the future of billing clerks?
The million-dollar question. AI is shaking things up everywhere you look, and billing is no exception. RoleCatcher talks about how companies are starting to use it for things like data entry, even generating invoices.
So, are robots going to take over the billing clerk's job entirely?
That's the big question, right? And RoleCatcher seems to think, not quite. While AI can definitely handle some of those more routine tasks, it's unlikely to fully replace human billing clerks anytime soon.
That's good news. So, more like AI changes the job rather than eliminates it.
Exactly. Think of it this way. AI can take over some of the repetitive stuff, freeing up billing clerks to focus on more complex tasks, strategic thinking, that kind of thing.
So, instead of manually entering data for hours, they could use AI to handle that, then use their own expertise to analyze it, spot trends, come up with ways to improve things, like AI becomes their assistant.
Precisely. RoleCatcher even suggested that AI could help billing clerks become more like internal consultants, advising their companies on how to streamline their whole billing process.
Wow, that's a pretty cool evolution. The billing clerks of the future, they'll need to be adaptable, tech savvy for sure.
For sure. And that's what I like about these RoleCatcher deep dives. It's not just about the job as it is now. It's about where it's going and what skills you'll need to thrive in that future.
It's a good reminder that things are always changing, and we gotta change with them.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, this deep dive alone has shown us that there's a lot more to being a billing clerk than meets the eye. It takes a mix of technical skills, people skills, and a willingness to adapt as technology changes.
Absolutely. It's been a fascinating look at a role that often gets overlooked, but is so important in the business world. Next time I see an invoice, I'll know there's a lot more behind it than I realized. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and we'll see you for the next one.